What was the question again?
Why comics?
Oh yeah, so I always liked to write and draw, but I never seriously thought about doing it as a as a day job type of thing until I think I was in high school, and the second or third issue of 8-Ball had come out, and I saw that, and I was like, man, it was the first comic I saw where it wasn't just Marvel and DC, and it wasn't just your normal story. Your stories can be anything in the comics medium. So then after that, I was like, well, before then, I guess I just didn't even think, I could tell a spy story or a detective story or just like a slice of life story where somebody gets murdered at the end.
Yeah, I think 8-Ball was actually pretty influential for me. I was reading mostly superhero books until I started working at a comic book store. And I was about 18 at the time. And that pretty much changed, because I could read anything I wanted off the shelf. That kind of changed the way I looked at comics, because I started thinking of 8-Ball and Optic Nerve, Hate, a lot of the Fantagraphic books at the time. But yeah, I think it kind of re-energized me, because I think I was losing interest. Wasn't so interested in doing superhero books.
Yeah, I think that's true of a lot of people that read comics when they're younger. You get to about 16, 17, 18, and
you realize you've read them all before.
Yeah, it's the same stories that you read when you were younger, and maybe you're getting interested in other things than superheroes and
girls.
And yeah, you start to branch out and look at like Vertigo or other things like that. What about you?
Well, I think I always wanted to tell stories. I wanted to tell stories. I loved comics, but probably really late 80s, early 90s, I just thought comics were one of the worst. I mean, I just thought they were so bad. And
that's when I was working at the comic book store. That's when I kind of lost hope.
Everything was so bad, and I just kind of turned more towards really focusing on prose. And I would start to have some success tilting that windmill, and it all started falling apart again. I got kind of disenchanted with prose, and I turned back towards comics again a few years ago. I'll be honest, Brian was working at a comic book publisher as an artist, and we'd always talked about telling stories together.
Well, Cullen and I used to work at the comic shop. That's how I met Cullen.
Okay.
We worked at the same comic book store.
And we'd always started, and he started working there, and we started talking about actually pitching something to his publisher together, and that's really when I got back into comics. And I've kind of put prose aside at this point for the most part, so I can focus on doing comic book work.
And is that because you like it more, or is it because you had more success?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I mean, I've definitely had more success with comics, but I like it more too. I mean, I like the collaborative nature of it. I mean, most of the time.
So, working in comics, as you all do, and so many people do have that view of comics that, well, that's kid stuff because they've read Archie, and they've read maybe, a Batman comic when they were kids, and that's their opinion of comics. And how do you react to that when people...
I think some people still have their opinion, but I've never had anybody who, usually people find out I like work in comics, they're really interested and really excited, even if they have the opinion that, comics are just Archie and superhero stuff. They're still fascinated by it. But I don't let the others do it.
All right. Fair enough.
I think there needs to...
I was just going to say, it seems nowadays, especially like the last 5-6 years or so, it's much more accepted.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not fair. I don't know.
I just think there needs to be a new word for what we do. Because
graphic novels.
I tried comics. I say, I do comics. And then my mother-in-law thought I was doing stand-up comedy for a while. I was like, are you kidding me?
Comic strips, a lot of people think.
Yeah, comic strips.
Yeah,
and then
Garfield stuff.
my daughter goes to a lot of birthday parties lately, like, with their kindergarten friends or whatever. And so I drop her off and I talk to the parents. And they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, not comic. I do graphic novels. So I say that, and they're like, this look on their face, and I'm
like you
I
write
think
porn.
it's porn.
Yeah, so they think it's like
Graphic.
some porn thing. I'm like, oh, here's my book, and then they're totally relieved.
Really disappointed. Yeah, I
Give
don't
it to
think...
them in a little pink bag.
I haven't talked to too many people recently who are really thinking comics are kid stuff. I get the thing. I had a long conversation with someone one day, and I said, yeah, I do comics. And I thought we were on the same page. We talked for 20 minutes, and they said, well, if you're working with comics, you must be really funny. And And I was like, what? And he thought I was talking about stand-up comedy.
I've never had that.
I did have someone the other day tell me that they just don't have time to read comic books. That they'd like to, but they just don't have time for those kind of things. So,
No, I get a lot of people telling me, like, oh, you're a graphic novelist. Because I guess that's the new term. But, yeah.
I would never put that on. I put author on a business card one time, and these guys made fun of me for 2 weeks straight.
So what's on your business
I
card?
spelled it wrong.
I did. That's true. I don't even know what I don't think it has any.
Man about town.
That's no designation.
All right. I know I do get that a little bit too when I tell people that I teach a class on comics. It's like they teach that at a school, but I think you're right that it is growing by leaps and bounds, the acceptance into the mainstream.
I think a lot of it's just generational. A lot of people who grew up with comics understand it.
Right. Yeah. People growing up, I guess, in like the 40s and the 50s, they might have looked at comics as, well, disposable, I guess. All right. Talking about the creative process a little bit, I wanted to get into that since a lot of the students that are here are in writing classes right now, writing essays and things, but I did want to talk about what is it like to write a comic? How is that different? Obviously, it's different from writing an essay. Essay writing sucks, as I'm sure all of you know. Essay grading sucks too. Just wanted that on the record. But what goes into your process, your creative process, when you are writing a script? I'll start with Cullen, and then I'll swing over to Matt, because I'm sure that you have a completely different method.
I use dice.
If I roll a 1 through 3, it'll turn left.
You think he's joking, but
I am joking.
Okay.
I think a lot of things that go into any kind of storytelling, characterization, plotting, those the things that make a good story across the board. But up until the moment I start writing the script, it's a nightmare for me. It's miserable. I mean, at some point I want to post scans of my notebook here because there are all these little. I try to map out the comic sometimes. I try to thumbnail it. I try to do all these different things to see how it's going to flow. And I'm really slavish to pacing. I really want the pacing to work well. And if I don't feel like it's working well, like if I can't get this scene out in 3 pages, I'll stay up, for hours and hours and hours at night trying to brainstorm. How am I going to make this happen? And honestly, I just kind of do a little free writing until something will come out of that. Once I get to writing the script, to me, that's that's easy. That's great. The script goes very easily if I know where the story's going, and I have to know where at least that issue is going before I can start scripting it. And at some point, I'll share some of those notes of what my notebook looks like. But it's just lines and arrows and boxes. What's going to happen on this page? I can't let this happen until the page turns because I don't want to reveal something. Some big reveal.
Yeah, I think Cullen. I've worked with a lot of writers. And I think Cullen's probably he probably is the best comic writer I've worked with. Maybe not in your head.
No, it's
Yes.
good.
Yes, I am.
Well, he seems to have he's pretty much absorbed comics all his life, so he has like an innate understanding, especially of pacing, but also of, from an artist's point of view, he knows how to keep it visually interesting. There's a lot of writers now who come into comics from TV and movies and novels from prose, and they're the worst comic writers in my mind. They might have some good stories, but it's boring to look at. Like you'll have a page, there's a lot of scenes that are 5 guys in a room for 10 pages having a conversation, and that's not good comics.
Yeah.